Ghost in Berlin.
Chapter 3. The Station Trap. Berlin, 1942. Snow fell harder by dawn, muffling the city in a deceptive calm. Elias and Clara moved like wraiths through the side streets, their stolen civilian coats and scarves barely enough to conceal their faces. Berlin was waking up. Shopkeepers raising shutters, tram bells ringing, soldiers marching in tight formation along under the trees. But under that routine hum lurked a city on edge. Every checkpoint they passed had more soldiers, more Gestapo agents with their hard stares and restless hands near their pistols. Posters screamed for vigilance. Der Feind hört mit. The enemy is listening. Elias knew the posters were true. Berlin was crawling with listeners, informants eager for a few extra ration coupons in exchange for a whispered name. They ducked into a narrow doorway, breath steaming in the freezing air. Clara pulled out the map she'd marked the night before. "The train leaves Anhalter Bahnhof at 10:20, she whispered. "If we can get you on it, you'll reach Hamburg by nightfall." "And Lisbon after that," Elias murmured, scanning the street. "If Anton or the Gestapo don't catch me first." Clara folded the map. "Anton Kramer won't forgive last night. You humiliated him. He'll be at the station, and he'll want you alive." "That makes one of us," Elias said dryly. She almost smiled, but her eyes were tight with fear. "We'll get you out." They moved again, slipping through alleyways and bomb-scarred streets until the spires of Anhalter Bahnhof rose before them. The once grand train station, once Berlin's pride, was now a fortress. Wehrmacht patrols ringed the entrance. Inside, Gestapo agents prowled the waiting areas, stopping passengers for random inspections. Elias's forged papers were flawless, but the Gestapo weren't fools. One wrong glance could bring a dozen rifles to bear. Clara touched his arm lightly. "You should go alone from here. Less chance of drawing attention." He shook his head. "We're both on their list now. I won't leave you in Berlin." Her gaze hardened. "You might not have a choice." Before he could reply, a commotion rippled through the station. A column of soldiers marched in, clearing civilians aside. At their center, a tall Gestapo officer strode with cold precision. Elias recognized him instantly from London's dossiers. Major Dietrich Vogel. The man was infamous for hunting foreign agents, ruthless, meticulous, never known to fail. And Vogel was heading straight toward the ticket gates. "Change of plan," Elias whispered, steering Clara toward a side corridor. They slipped past a bakery stand, heading for a service stairwell Elias had memorized from an old floor plan. A cleaner's door stood ajar, leading down to the freight platforms. Perfect. Or it would have been, if a voice hadn't barked behind them. "Halt!" Two Gestapo men stood at the end of the corridor, pistols raised. Clara reacted first. She hurled her handbag at the nearest man's face and bolted down the stairwell. Elias drew his Walther in one fluid motion, firing twice. One agent dropped, the other dove for cover. Elias sprinted after Clara, boots echoing on the metal steps. "Go, go!" he hissed. They burst onto the freight platform, weaving between crates and wagons. Steam hissed from an idling locomotive, fogging the air and masking their movements. Above them, a whistle shrieked, followed by frantic shouts. Vogel's men had found the bodies. "This way," Clara pointed to a service tunnel leading to the passenger platforms. They darted through the narrow passage, emerging near track 7. The Hamburg train was already there, smoke curling from its chimney, passengers boarding under the watchful gaze of SS guards. "Too many eyes," Elias muttered, scanning the platform. Then he saw him. Anton Kramer stood near the ticket gate, flanked by 2 of his men in civilian coats. He was smiling, as if he'd been waiting for them all morning. Whew, Elias felt his blood go cold. Kramer wasn't here to kill him. He was here to deliver him. Clara grabbed his sleeve. "We need another way." "No time," Elias said. "We go through them." "Through them?" she hissed. Elias nodded. "Trust me." He tucked his pistol under his coat, straightened his scarf, and walked calmly toward the platform. Clara followed a half-step behind, every muscle in her body tense. They passed a Gestapo officer checking papers. Elias handed over his forged documents with the air of a man who belonged. The officer glanced at them, stamped them, and waved him through. Anton's smile widened as Elias approached. "Hauptmann," Kramer drawled. "Fancy meeting you here." Elias stopped a few feet away. "Anton, I'm in a hurry." "You always are," Kramer said. "That's your problem." He nodded toward a shadow behind him. Fogel. The Gestapo major had arrived, his cold eyes fixed on Elias. Clara's fingers tightened on Elias's arm. They were surrounded. Kramer grinned. "You know, I could hand you over, make a nice sum of money. Or," he paused, his eyes gleaming, "you could pay me double." Fogel was moving closer now, flanked by 2 officers. Elias's heart pounded. The crowd was thick, panicked passengers shuffling toward their trains, guards shouting orders. "Double," Elias said softly. "And you look the other way?" "Exactly," Kramer purred. Elias smiled. It wasn't friendly. Not today. He drew his pistol and fired 3 quick shots into the air. The platform erupted into chaos, screams, guards shouting, people scattering in every direction. Clara yanked him toward the Hamburg train as Fogel barked orders. Kramer dove for cover, cursing. "Move!" Elias shouted, shoving passengers aside. They sprinted up the steps and leapt into a third-class carriage just as the whistle blew. The train lurched forward, wheels screeching on the tracks. Fogel's men opened fire. Bullets shattered windows. Elias dragged Clara to the floor as glass rained down. The train gathered speed, leaving the platform, and Fogel's fury behind. Clara clutched Elias's sleeve, breathing hard. "That was insane." "That," Elias said grimly, "was our only chance." He peered out the shattered window as the station receded into the distance. Fogel stood on the platform, his pale face unreadable. Anton Kramer at his side. They weren't celebrating. They were calculating. And Elias knew this wasn't over. Thanks for listening to The Ghost in Berlin. If you're enjoying the story so far and would like to read the full ebook, you can find it now, available in PDF and EPUB, via the link in the show notes.